the MLG offices here in New York City. Axel Toss and Axlife here. Happy Tuesday, whatever day it is. Tuesday. See, the thing with days, you got to be careful because it's always a different day for someone else.
Yes.
Sometimes. Like if you're watching in Australia, it's the next day. So whenever you're watching, I hope you're having a great day. What are we watching today is the question.
Right now we're watching the Neo Star League 2013 semifinals and finals. Of course, the Neo Star League 2013 is a very competitive Chinese tournament taking place across the year. Top 32 players from China and also the top couple players from Taiwan. You're talking about Sen, you're talking about Jim, XY,
Yes.
Max said, Zigua was in here, Calm, a lot of people know Calm. Basically every single top player from China and Taiwan in this tournament competing for 10,000 RMB in prizes. That's, I think, about 1,800, 2,000 US dollars.
US dollars.
Also known as about 1,500 cheeseburgers is what we're competing for.
We did that math last week. People were wondering about that. But yeah, this is all about the China scene. That's something a lot of people don't know about. We always see WCS Korea, always see WCS America, WCS Europe. We're seeing these top players in all these regions. Innovation, Tasia, Baby Knight, Straylock, the U.S. guys, QXE. You hear all these names from these different regions. China is that space that's not necessarily... it hasn't been explored as much.
It hasn't. And you know what's really piqued my interest in the Chinese scene is basically WCS America 2013, because that's when we saw all the China players come in and compete in WCS America.
Jim, Max Ed,
yeah,
XY.
XY was there, yeah. And they were just flooring everyone.
Yep.
And even the Koreans, like Jim knocked out, I think, 3 different pro Koreans, XY, and of course, Zigua actually played in WCS Europe.
Yep.
But anyways, these guys are doing, they're dominant.
Yeah.
They're just as good, if not better, than any of the top NA and European players.
When we saw the list that the Chinese players were playing, it was a lot of these groups were like, okay, the Chinese players could get knocked out, or he's not going to do well. We don't know how they stack up against these other players. We were pretty wrong, though. Jim has been the name that everyone's been talking about, and he's playing today. He's actually been in the first match. Jim is the guy who's #1 on the Grandmaster ladder in Korea. He's been destroying people left and right. I think he had his WCS America match yesterday, which I actually think he lost to Neeb, if I remember correctly. But again, it's all about the Chinese scene, finding out what they have in store for us, finding out how good they actually are. And this is one of the tournaments, one of the big tournaments in China, where all the Chinese players come together and we find out who's the best.
We do, and I think what was surprising to me is Calm and Sen, who a lot of people would say, a lot of people say Calm is one of the top 1 or 2 or maybe 3 players in China, and Sen, of course, is the guy who doesn't lose anyone who's not a Korean pro, basically. Yep. Both of them got knocked out in, I think it was the round of 16 in this tournament, actually, or maybe round of 8, very early on. I think Calm, in fact, I think he lost to it's either Jim or Courage. He's one of these players. He was in this group we have right here. And Sen got knocked out early on as well. So these guys have knocked out a lot of great players on the way. It's going to be insanely competitive.
Top was in this tournament. Love CD, Loner,
Top
Zebra,
actually lost
Ash.
to Courage. I remember that.
He did.
Yep.
We're down to 4 players left in this tournament. What you're going to see today are 2 semifinals, a third-place match, and a finals of this Chinese tournament. The 4 players are Courage, Jim, Tude Ming, and XY. The first match is going to be Jim versus Courage. And should we just jump on into it?
Let's do it. Let's get right into Jim versus Courage. Game number 1 is going to be on Belshire Vestige. Of course, it's best of 3s until the finals, which is a best of 5.
Yep. All right, so it's going to be a PVZ on Belshire Vestige. In the bottom right-hand location, I present your blue Protoss player. To get to this point, he defeated a guy named Dao Dao, 2-1. I haven't necessarily heard of him before. He beat a guy named AK, 2-0. So he has yet to lose a game. And he is in the bottom right. He is Jim. His opponent in the top left-hand location, some people might have heard of him. He's defeated Haas and Top, 2-0 and 2-1. And I feel like he was in the WCS America qualifier tournament, I think, that we casted about a few days ago.
Yes, he made it to the second to final match.
Right.
Where he lost to Desro.
So he's Courage in the top left. It's Courage versus Jim. And I would personally, knowing these guys' histories, from what I know about them too, I would give Jim the advantage in this best of 3. Because again, he's the guy who's #1 on the Korean Grandmaster ladder.
Yes, Courage is in the top 100 somewhere on Korea GM. So he's, I know he's in the top 100. He's one of those barcodes up there.
Yep.
He's very, very good. Yes, he did lose to Desro in WCS America qualifiers, which some people would say that's kind of an upset. But keep in mind that, it's played on the America server, and he's from China. And this game, of course, is being played on the Chinese server.
Yes.
And Desro actually was playing in the best of his game then.
Desro had a great run.
Yeah, and right after he beat Courage, he just demolished Venus 2-0, who's a Korean player for Quanta Gaming. So Desro was on fire. So losing to Desro, no shame at all. That guy is very, very good. He's really stepping his game up lately. I'm really excited to see how he does in Season 3 Challenger League. But on to the game at hand, we do have Courage going for...
He's like, you know what, I don't feel like taking an expansion.
Yeah, it's interesting. He got this gas a little bit early. But he
get 28 gas. Is he doing some link main
Well, you know what's interesting? He got the gas and got a little bit of gas, like he was thinking of getting speed, and then when the probe scouted him, it started coming in, he kind of abandoned his plan.
Right.
At least when he saw it coming, he realized he couldn't get away with anything like super cheesy. So I think he was debating about if the probe didn't scout, right, they would have told him it's probably a gateway expansion. Because it's very rare to do a Forge expansion and not scout, because you want to know when the Zerg's pool is coming down. And so I think he read that it was a Forge expansion, and he was like, okay, we don't need to get speed against a Forge expansion. But if it was a gateway expansion, I think it would have gotten speed in Zerglings.
Okay.
Well, you wouldn't need it that early defensively, but I think he might have been planning to do like some mass speeding attack early on and take out the Nexus. Of course, with the Forge expansion, there's a cannon there. The Protoss can easily wall in, so the whole strategy is moot. But it was a cool idea. I think he really wanted to try to take advantage of someone doing like a greedy 21 Nexus on a gate expand.
Yep.
And just coming in there with like 10 speedings, canceling Nexus.
So Courage was initially thinking about investing into doing a lot of damage early.
Yes.
And then he scouted something from Jin, whether it was his early probe, whether it was the Forge, scouting that Jin was being safe, so he realized, okay, this pressure won't work. I'm going to adjust and do something else. So instead of going for that mass speedling attack, he's putting down a third hatchery. He's putting down a second hatchery. He's going for the macro game, going for the econ game, identifying that his opponent was doing the exact same thing, except Jim was playing very safe, so I realized, okay, a mass speedling attack won't necessarily work.
Exactly, and now you can see as soon as he took his drones off gas so he could get the 3 hatcheries up as fast as possible, and then once all those hatcheries are started, his queens are started, he goes and puts the drones back on gas because he does want to get Zergling speed at some point. But if you're not going to do anything really aggressive early, you want to prioritize the hatcheries. And now, right when he's getting speed, he's taking it down to 1 drone on gas. Probably he'll get some Evo chambers or a lair once he has 100 gas. But in the meantime, prioritizing the mineral income because he wants to really burst his drone count up very high. We're going to see a lot of drones in production over the next minute.
And it could be a mind game thing, too, where you kind of fake going for the gas so your opponent thinks that you're going for speed early, and then maybe they're making some adjustments in their play that's not necessarily optimal to defend against something that's not actually coming. So a lot of mind games happen in StarCraft 2, and this game is definitely no exception. For now, Jim taking both of his gases in his main base. No gases yet at his natural expansion. I think he did get that Forge, but has he started an upgrade out of it?
No.
So just the Forge is just for the cannon to keep that faster expansion safe.
Yes, and spending his initial gas getting that Stargate up as fast as possible, of course, also getting that early stock.
It's going to get scouted here. Did it get scouted there?
Ooh, that's a very good question. Let's take a look at Jim's point of view, or Courage's point of view. Yes, it did. So Courage was able to spot the Stargate. That's a nice move. The question is, can he spot the 3rd and 4th gases at the natural? Because there's 2 ways to play Stargate. Oh, he hasn't spotted these yet.
So typically Zerg players will keep an Overlord underneath that natural, keep an eye on those 2 gases, but Courage not doing that here.
Yeah, I wasn't able to get one into that position. Okay, he's going to see this 3rd Nexus, and it could be a fake, but it's probably not. And he's going to build some extra speedings to confirm that. And what I was saying is, if he saw there were gases here, he knows it's not like a couple Stargate units, but also with 8 Zealots come from 4 Warp Gates behind it. He knows it's just Stargate to harass. There's no actual ground threat.
Wow.
But as is seen at 3rd base, he probably knows that as well. So he's going to get a bunch of speedings. He's going to try to damage the 3rd base. And, you know, at the very least, he may be able to force the Oracle that's being built to stay on defensive. You can see the Oracle's being rallied here. And that's being built with the intention of saying Oracles kill Zerglings really quickly. It can protect my Nexus from any type of speeding assault.
All right, so Courage saw this fast 30. Does not want to let Jim get away with it. Going to try to take a Sentry, a Stalker, and a Zealot off guard. The Oracle forced to stay at home, trying to dish out that damage on those Lings. The 3rd still going up, though. The cannon is going to finish, but Courage going to try to target that down. Mothership coming forward as well. Jim needs his Warp Gate, needs his gateways out so he can add on additional units, or he's going to have to cancel his 3rd base.
See, the Oracle helped out quite a bit. They're getting 9 kills on the Zerglings, but now it's out of energy. The Nexus is coming under fire. There's only a single Warp Gate up right now, 4 more in production, but right now he can only warp in a single unit. He doesn't even have Photon Overcharge.
Okay, he's going to try to save it. The Sentries and a Zealot coming forward, but Courage targeting down that Nexus. 1 force field going on. Going to turn around and actually target down these Sentries that are coming out to help reinforce, taking out 2 of the Sentries. No, just 1. Going to try to track down that last one.
Oh, here comes some more Zergies.
He's got
2 more Sentries under fire.
Oh my God. Okay,
there's a Photon Overcharge.
Will that cause the Lings to go away?
He gets the cannon. He's going for the pylon here. There needs to be more warpins. Here's a single Zelt warpin. You can see gateways are being chrono boosted. This Nexus, though, I think it's going to fall. More and more speedings coming in.
It's gone.
And Courage with a decisive advantage early in the game, taking out that Nexus.
Okay, so we need to consider the probe and drone count during all this. 52 drones there, so Courage did invest quite a bit into punishing this third base, so the econ, it's mildly similar. Overall, though, Courage is going to be happy about how that went.
Yes, it's one of the situations, like you said, throughout this, the economy's been exactly the same. But killing a Nexus doesn't hurt Jim's economy right this instant, because Jim right now doesn't even have the probes to descend there, right? But what it does is over the next 2 minutes, Courage can really boost his drone count up, and while Jim can build probes 2 at a time, but he's nowhere to send them for about 2 minutes, waiting for the other Nexus to complete. So it's going to give Courage an economy advantage in the short run right now. Now Jim's going to equalize this because he's going to get the third base up after all.
Yeah.
So it's not like a game-ending advantage, but it is a nice win for Courage so far.
I mean, Courage did invest a lot into that. His upgrades are just now going. His 1-1, Baneling Nest on the way. Lair just now started.
Oh, yeah,
so
the Lair
if
is
we're
very
talking
late.
about tech progression, Jim is going to have the advantage. I mean, he has Colossi and Void Rays in production, so he's going to start getting those really expensive units out. And does Courage really have an ability to deny the third base of his opponent? Because it might come down to Courage trying to secure a fourth, Jim having a lot of Void Rays, a lot of Colossi, a Mothership Core, and then Jim feeling confident enough to push out, aggress his opponent's fourth base with the ability to recall back home at any time.
Yeah, you know, the current game state is one where Jim is going to have a very good economy, has very good tech, and Courage, of course, he has four hatcheries up, so he has a lot of larvae to produce. But what army can he build to beat the high-tech Void Ray, Colossi, Sentry competition that Jim is going for? Now, Roaches or Hydras probably aren't going to work in this situation, but Courage does have a lot of hatcheries. He can get a lot of larvae. He's going to try getting speedings and baitings, coming in here for a follow-up attack. Maybe he does have one armor upgrade, the attack upgrade almost complete. But with force fields there, those baitings are going to have no chance to having to retreat.
Okay, so Courage right now is going to try to find a way to spread out his opponent. I mean, is he going to try to kill that third base? Like, I'm wondering what the purpose of these Lings and Banelings are right now.
I think it's all trying to do some damage, but also just keep Jim at home. I think he's looking to attack either Mutas or Ultralisk. We're going to see which one it's going to be. And look at this, trying to keep his opponent busy. Can he get the Nexus again? He's focusing it down. These speedings are vicious.
Oh, the force field's going down, trying to protect that Nexus. Courage. Can he take down the Nexus?
Oh, look at this. The Baneling's coming in from behind.
As well, trying to kill those Colossi. Force field's going down. Great positioning here from Jim. And I think Jim is going to be just fine.
He is. And you know, if you don't get the Nexus kill, damage doesn't really matter too much. Now, the Banelings did survive, but a lot of speedings went down. Courage with tons of minerals. How much larva does he have? Can he rebuild that speeding flock? He has 17, so he can build a few speedings, but not quite as many as he'd like.
Like, if we're talking about cost efficiency, Jim did so much better in that engagement. Like, he kept his Sentries alive, he kept his Colossi alive. Courage invested a lot of time into targeting down the Nexus, lost a lot of Lings for free there, didn't end up taking it out. So, and that Nexus even has 11 kills. Yes, a building has 11 kills. That's pretty awesome there.
Now, you know, the only disadvantage going for Jim is he has to be a little bit careful to protect this Nexus as it's weak, but that's what this wall is here for. Now, if Courage can get Banings in here, take out this cannon, then the speedings can stream in through and maybe get another attack. That's what it looks like he's wanting to do. A bunch of speedings here, but he does need 4 to 5 Banings to break that cannon first so he can slip through into where the Nexus is. Now,
he can never engage the Protoss army straight up right now.
Oh, no. No, he can't. What he's doing is he's trying to buy time until he gets Ultradus.
Yeah.
You can see he's making Queens in the background, continuing his melee upgrades, going for Hive, but he needs to buy another about 4 game minutes. His Hive tech isn't really that fast. We talked about how late the lair was. Normally, when you're doing an Ultralisk rush in a standard game, you're having that Hive done in 11 minutes. And Ultralisks are already being built right now. But because of the early aggression and the way the game's played out, everything's delayed quite a bit for Courage. Now, Jim is delayed a bit in his supply, but his tech progression has been great, and he's already has a very, very well-developed army.
He's pushing out, and again, this is the few Colossi, a Void Ray, Mothership Core, Lings. Don't want to be engaging there. I mean, you're not going to want to be engaging anyway with those, but I guess they could be turned into Banelings, and maybe something can happen. But what does Courage have to deal with this army right now? I
mean, he's going to have to wait for Ultras to deal with it. If he can,
he's still like so far away.
I don't know if he has enough Zerglings to threaten a counterattack. He needs some Banelings to break that cannon first. He can try to focus down a couple of units, but such a good wall here from Jim. The defense is going to be solid. Now, Courage, does he have a lot of Spine Crawlers? No, but he has a ton of Banelings. If he can find a way to get the Banelings to connect, that could be his ace in the hole.
One does not simply, especially against Jim. Oh,
yeah,
he could force field. He's good. Oh my
God!
No! Oh, it's a massacre. So many Lings falling for free. And he's going to know that he's coming down that ramp. More force fields going down. Jim in a perfect position here. Perfect force fields, perfect Colossi control, and the unit's loss is going to be even more in his favor right now.
Courage decided he cannot wait for Ultra. So getting Roaches out right now, but
No
what
way.
can Roaches do against this army? The force fields are great. The Baitings are starting to come in. Oh, but more force fields in a time warp.
Jim.
It's an absolute killing spree. Look at some of these Colossi. 17 kills, 20 kills, 24 kills. It's a trio of executors pushing into the Zerg base, and there goes the GG.
Jim takes game number 1, and that was all about positioning. Jim got into a position where he was ahead, and he kept dealing with, the counterattacks try to happen. He was very patient. Remember, he lost his third base, but he's like, okay, you just made a lot of Zerglings. Your economy isn't going to be fantastic right now. I'll make sure the Lings are gone, and then I'll reestablish that third base while continuing to tech up, while getting a Void Ray out, getting up to Colossi, getting those guys out. And then once he had that third base, and his opponent already invested so much in that economy, his layer was so late.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I think the attacks were fine from Courage, but if you're planning to do Ultras, which he clearly was the whole game, you have to keep that tech going, because once Protoss gets a couple Colossi on the field and sentries, you pretty much have to have Ultras out. And if the Protoss takes a third base, you can almost always get them out in time, but not if you delay your tech so much, which is really what happened to Courage there.
Yeah, so Jim taking the 1-0 advantage. Courage, I don't think he's out of it just yet. He showed some promising tactics. Whenever I see mass Lings, I always have to call it promising, because Lings are really good. I think they're pretty underrated. They just require a lot of control, so a lot of players don't really worry about having to worry about having to control them. But can Courage control them well in this next game? He's going to have to win 2 in a row to advance to the finals of the Neo Star League tournament, guys. We'll be right back after a quick break with Game 2 between Jim and Courage.